Houston Texans are looking to bounce back against their division rival after a tough loss to their other division rival here in Week 13. My name is Tyler, here with my brother Ryan, and we're going to break down the Houston Texans Jacksonville Jaguars matchup. But before we get into that, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a like and a comment. Let us know who you think will win this game and why. Ryan and I, we have a goal of getting to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So any help is greatly appreciated. So, Ryan, the Texans team, they're just one. I think they're dealing with the injury bug as well. I know we were talking about like a lot of teams are dealing with that. They're having some issues on the offensive line side. They've been dealing with some injury bugs on the receiver side as well. But that clearly, though, that has been solved because Nico Collins coming back has been huge for this offense as a whole. Joe Mixon was a little banged up earlier on in the season, but he's come back in resurgence of these past couple of months as well. Defensively, though, they're struggling on the defensive interior, but they still got Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter that can go and put out a lot of great performances. To me, I think just their biggest issues, they've just been dealing with some injuries on the interior of the offensive line. And that is where, to me, I think they're going to benefit because Jacksonville also has no defense at all. I kind of come into this game. Do you agree with that assessment? And then also, what do the Jags need to have adjusted coming off their bye to pull out another upset victory here? And you're on mute.
For me, the biggest thing is just a mentality shift for the Jags. They're definitely they're not bought into Doug Peterson's message. I'm surprised he's not already out actually as the head coach, and they haven't installed like an interim guy. But this team has talent on it. You look, Josh Hines-Allen, not Micah Williams, Trayvon Walker, the Micah Williams bigger version in this year's draft. And then like they have Tyson Campbell, they have other guys, Andre Sisco, like Devin Lloyd. Like they have a lot of top tier talent on that defense. They just can't seem to put all the pieces together. And so I think you look maybe going after a guy like Mike Vrabel or Bill Belichick and get this defense right in this offseason, I think would be a really big upgrade for this team. But right now, this team is just not bought in on the defensive side of the ball. Offensive side of the ball, like Tank Bigsby, Trevor Lawrence, those guys are out. Like it's just not Christian Kirk, another guy.
As well. Yeah, I think Dave Davis is out too.
Like they're so banged up. They traded Cam Robinson. Like there's just so many other issues outside of coaching and whatnot that is going on with this offense that's affecting them. So it's just a ton of injuries. They don't, and then on top of all the injuries and other personnel problems, they're just not bought in. And I think you go with the Texans. They look bought in. One of the things is CJ Stroud, I think, is under more pressure this year than he was last year. And that, I think, has really affected this offense because really they have the same weapons. I just think they've had some banged up offensive linemen. The running game has been pretty good with Joe Mixon, but at the same time, it hasn't been enough to really kind of hold defenses off CJ Stroud and having them pin their ears back and going after him. So that to me, I think, is going to be an adjustment here. Definitely have to win on the edges against Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, but this should be a pretty status quo game for the Houston Texans.
It should be. And I think to your point, to back up your point there, I want to make sure I get this correctly because I'm just on my laptop here today. If you're a consistent viewer, you know that I normally don't have all my Falcons fan gear behind me. So just doing for my laptop here. But yeah, it looks like my information is correct here. They're 29th in sacks allowed on the offensive side of the ball. They've allowed 40 sacks so far on the season. And that where, to me, kind of going to your point, is that it seems like CJ Stroud and Stroud is a veteran quarterback. We've seen him play in a lot of games as well too, even in college. I feel like he doesn't have that problem of hanging on the ball too much, especially in some of these younger quarterbacks. An extreme example is going to be Caleb Williams. I know he's still a rookie, but he has a serious problem of hanging on the ball too much. I feel like Stroud's never really done that as much. That's why when that 40 sack number is, I think that is a good representation of how much this offensive line, particularly I feel the interior of the offensive line just has been struggling as well. I know Kenyon Green was starting there, but then he was horrible, but then he got hurt, and then Kendrick Green's come in and he's played decently well, but still potentially not great. And so you got Patterson, and then you got Scruggs in there as well. And younger groups as well, and like a little bit of experience. But I think that's really where they've been struggling. But then, ironically, though, too, if I'm not mistaken, I think then they're like third, 114.58 rushing yards. They're 20th in the offensive rushing yards category, and so that kind of backs up into it. Third is the Green Bay Packers, the team above them. That's why I thought that earlier. So 114, 115, 20th in rushing yards per game offensively. So it kind of backs up a little bit where like that offensive line is just not doing their best job on the passing and the rushing side of the ball. They benefited greatly from having Nico Collins back into the offense, coming back from his hamstring injury. He's helped alleviate a lot. So wouldn't be surprised to see a lot more higher scoring performances from the Texans just from that capability. But we talk about this so much here because in this game, I don't really think it's going to be that big an issue because Jags defense just has really struggled in general, especially on the defensive interior. They do still have Josh Allen, they do still have Trayvon Walker as well, and who he's having a really good season also. But other than that, there's not too much pressure in the linebacking room or the secondary as well. Like one of the worst defenses that we've seen so far this season. And actually, let me find those exact stats here. So Jacksonville, line 16, 32nd, 31st, and 26 when it comes to total yards allowed, passing yards allowed, and rushing yards allowed. So yeah, that's not great. Just in general. So they do have 21 sacks on the season. I think a vast majority of those are just from those two edge rushers I mentioned earlier. And so I think this is going to be a good kind of get right game for the Houston Texans here. Try and establish some sort of offensive line rhythm. Because I think defensively, I feel the Texans are one of the better teams in the league, averaging just a little over 300 yards per game. Fifth overall in total yards, fifth in passing yards, and 11th in rushing yards allowed, and second in sacks, so 42 sacks on the season so far. So defensively, like they're there. I know they had a poor performance against the Tennessee Titans, but that team's also getting a little bit better as well.
It's also a division matchup, which I know like that kind of throws a wrench into things.
Well, and so that's kind of with this. Do you think this? I mean, this is a division matchup also. Like
it is.
These teams do see each other. They have game film from this year and last year. Actually, I don't think
it is
today or this year.
It is a division matchup, but I guess it could go in a similar way, but it's also a division matchup without your starting quarterback, without like if they have Mac Jones and they're very banged up. The Titans were healthy with their full lineup and their full repertoire of receivers and playmakers. So I think it's definitely a little bit different. And just like to kind of get into predictions, if you haven't been able to tell already, I'm going with Houston. I just definitely think that they're the better team in this matchup. And I think this defense can kind of dominate. I'm a Patriots fan. I've seen Mac Jones play, and I'm sorry that Jacksonville fans have to watch it. But I mean, it's just not going to be. I could see it being competitive in the first half, but I think in that second half, I think Houston will really separate themselves.
No, I think Houston's going to separate themselves after the coin toss. I think defensively, Houston's just going to dominate this game, and then Texans are going to do what they've been able to do. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if they have another an above average offensive performance for their team here, where they're actually able to protect him protect CJ Stroud a little bit, be kind of dynamic, just because this Jags defense just is not good. They have a lot of issues as well. And so I'm going with the Texans also. And so I know it's a division game. I know they're on the road, and they just lost to a division team that they should have won. But that division, the Titans are playing significantly better. They're going in the opposite direction of the Jags. So I could have seen that outcome play out like how it did last Sunday. If the Jags win this game, this would be shocking. This would be shocking to me.
Well, we might be calling the end of the Houston Texans season if the Jags win this game. Like obviously, mathematically, they'd still be in it, but they'd be 7-6.
They're the division leader right now, still by 2 games. So
yeah, and that's fair. Yeah. But after this, their schedule gets a lot tougher.
Yeah.
So going, I think it's like Miami, Kansas City, Chargers,
Baltimore, at Tennessee.
Yeah. Or Baltimore, not Chargers. So anyways, we're both taking the Texans in this matchup. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. That is the best way to help out the channel. While you're down there, go ahead and leave a comment on who you think is going to come out ahead. Will it be the Houston Texans? Will it be the Jacksonville Jaguars? And on that, we'll see you guys next time.